we dedicate our session to his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So I would like to pay my obeisances to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. We are on chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita. It is part of Bhakti Yoga. We have already completed 7th chapter, and it is titled as Attaining the Supreme. So a brief recap of the last session. Today we will be covering the last two sections of this chapter, 17 to 22 and 23 to 28. 17 to 22 talks about material world versus spiritual world, and 23 to 28 talks about supremacy of pure bhakti in attaining Krishna. So a brief recap. Remembering Krishna by Yog Mishra Bhakti. Anybody would like to revise the last section? Main key points. Okay. So we did this 8.9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. This was talking about Yog Mishra Bhakti. And we discussed that Yog Mishra Bhakti means when the Bhakti is more than Yoga. I mean, it's more than 50%. If we keep Yoga at one end and Bhakti at one end, then Bhakti is more than 50%. Okay. And in that, we discussed that a yogi can meditate on Krishna, on his attributes. And they were different attributes, like he knows everything. He's the oldest, he's the controller, he can be smaller than the smallest, he's the supreme maintainer, and he is inconceivable. He cannot be perceived by our material senses. And then from 10 to 13, Krishna discussed something about Satya Chakra Yoga, its process, its requirement, and what will be the final destination of a Yog Mishra Bhakta. So in the process of Satya Chakra Yoga, the yogi, he wants to lift the life air from the lower chakras to higher chakras, so that at the time of death, he can leave the soul will leave through a higher hole than a lower hole, and he will achieve a better destination. And most probably these yogis, they want these impersonal liberation. But for Yog Mishra Bhakti, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has said that they receive a destination in spiritual planets, that is Vaikuntha planets, and in a Shantaras. They cannot go higher than that. But a Bhakti yogi, he can reciprocate with Krishna in any of the other 4 rases like Madhurya, Sakhya, and Vatsalya, and Dasya. So this section talked about Yog Mishra Bhakti, its destination, and in that we have already studied about Ashtanga Yoga in 6th chapter. Like we have to detach ourselves from all sensual engagements, and then we have to remember Krishna, like dharana. We have to dharan Krishna in our heart, and then focus on Paramatma, and then remembering Krishna when we leave the body, we can achieve the spiritual planet. And this section was contrasted by Krishna in the next 3 verses, remembering Krishna by pure bhakti. Then he talks about pure bhakti, and he says that Ananya Cheta Satatam Yo Mam Smriti Nityasha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yukta Se Yogina. One who remembers me always. 3 times he used the word Nitya in this, always. If one remembers Krishna always, then Krishna is very easy to obtain. Tasyaham Sulabha Partha. He is very easy to obtain through pure Ananya Bhakti. And in 15 and 16, he talked about this material world as well as his supreme abode. He told that there is no rebirth for pure devotees. They will never return to this Dukhalyam, which is miserable. They will achieve Krishna's abode. Okay. So in the 16th verse, there are 2 lines. From the highest planet down to the lowest, repeated birth and death take place. So this will be highlighted from verse number 17 to 20. And in verse number 21 and 22, Krishna will talk about his eternal abode. So 17, 18, 19, and 20 talks about this material world, and 21, 22 talks about the spiritual world, that supreme abode of Krishna. Before that, we know that this verse came in 6th chapter, where Arjuna told Krishna that it's very difficult to control mind. Because when Krishna told that mind control is the basis of any form of yoga. It is always required. So he said that it's very difficult to control, and it's more difficult to control than wind. And in response to this, Krishna told him that by suitable practice and detachment, we can be able to control our mind. So this Ashtanga Yoga was described in 6th chapter in detail. But similarly, as in this chapter, he has established the supremacy of bhakti. In this chapter also, in the end verse, he says that out of all yogis, who is the supreme? A bhakta. Okay. The topmost yoga is bhakti yoga. So similarly, as in the 6th chapter, he has contrasted the Ashtanga Yoga with bhakti yoga. In this also, he has told that like bhakti, Ananya Bhakti is better than a Yog Mishra Bhakta. So now we move to the next.
Anyone has any confusion from the previous sections which we did last time? Is it clear to all of you? Any question?
It's clear, Prabhuji.
Clear.
That you're not able. It's clear, at least.
And she was telling me, Harshad Prabhu, did you ask some question where you need further clarification, or is it clear to you?
No, it's clear, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So in this section, now again, Krishna is making one more comparison. We already told you that there are 3 comparisons in this chapter. And on the basis of this comparison, Krishna wants to highlight that this material world is miserable and it is of temporary nature. So why to go for it? Why to be so much worked up for it? Just direct your thoughts towards spiritual world, towards Krishna, because Krishna is the eternal reality, ultimately, and his supreme abode. That is our destination. We want to go back and never return back. So by contrasting this, Krishna wants to give a message that please do bhakti. Okay. So in this section, Brahma, like Krishna will tell us about something about Brahma's life. He is calculating Brahma's life here just to tell us that even though Brahma's life is so vast, it is interminable, it is so fantastic as compared to our life, still it has a pause. Brahma will also die one day, or the Brahma's position will be taken from him and a new Brahma will come in another millennium. Okay, so Krishna again wants to highlight that we have to seek for eternity. Why to come again and again and suffer in this material world? We have to go back to God. So anybody wants to recite this verse?
I'll try, Mataji.
Okay.
Sahasrayuga paryantam aharyad brahmano viduha raptrim yuga sahasramtam teho ratra vido janaha. By human calculation, 1,000 days is taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night.
Thank you, Sharma. So according to human years, if we already know that there are 4 yugas. Okay, Kali, Dwapar, Treta, and Satya Yuga. This is one cycle that is called a Divya Yuga or a Yuga cycle. And these cycles, when they are repeated for 1,000 times, then it makes a day of Brahma. Day means here 12 hours of Brahma. And the another 12 hours, that is the night, it is also equivalent to 1,000 yuga cycles or 1,000 Divya yugas. So a day and a night of Brahma is so vast. And then in the next slide, we'll see that there is a calculation for his age. What is the life of Brahma? In purport also, Prabhupada has mentioned that life of Brahma is 311 trillion years and 40 billion years according to human earthly years. Okay. So roughly we can just calculate this, that in a Divya Yuga, there is a Satya Yuga, which is 1728 million years, Treta Yuga, which is 1296 million years, Dwapar Yuga, which is 8,64,000, and Kali Yuga, which is 4,32,000. So altogether, we see that it comes up to be 4.32 million years, one Divya Yuga. If we add this, because Dwapar is twice the Kali Yuga, Treta is thrice the Kali Yuga, and Satya is 4 times the Kali Yuga. So 4x plus 3x plus 2x plus x comes to 10x. So it becomes 4.32 million years. That is 4 yugas. Now, when we like these 4 yugas makes one Divya Yuga. Now 71 Divya Yugas, they are called as one Manvantara. And in one day of Brahma, that is 12 hours of Brahma, there will be 14 Manvantaras. Okay, so 14 Manvantaras, when we multiply by 71, it comes to 994. And the remaining 6 Divya Yugas, it will make 1000 days, because that 6 Divya Yugas are equal to 15 Sandhyas, that duration. So when we calculate that, one Kalpa of Brahma comes to be 4.32 billion years. That is 1000 times multiply 4.32 million years. Now, 12 hours of Brahma is this much. So the night will also be equal. So night will also be 4.32 billion years. So one total day of Brahma comes to 8.64. Okay. Now, in one lifespan of Brahma, if we calculate that 1 year has 360 days and he lives for 100 years. So through that calculation, finally the age of Brahma comes to 311 trillion years, 40 billion years. So this is so vast. Okay. And we know that after every day of Brahma, what happens? There is partial devastation. That is after 1000 Divya Yugas. What is partial devastation? At the time, all the lower planets, they will be submerged in water, and only Brahmalok will be there. And Brahma, in the night time when he sleeps, there is devastation, means all the living entities, they will reside in Garbhodakai Vishnu. Okay, and again when the day arises, Brahma will get up, he will again start creation. All the living entities will be given bodies for doing their activities, and this goes on and on and on, which is described in the coming verses. And this slide tells about the detail about the 4 yugas, that is a Divya Yuga. Purport, Prabhupada has explained there's this transformation in the course of yugas. What is that transformation? He tells that in Satya Yuga, there was virtue, there was wisdom, there was religion, and there was no vice. But as Treta Yuga begins, vice is introduced. And slowly, this vice increases in Dwapar Yuga. And finally, in Kali Yuga, there is so much vice that virtually there is no wisdom, there is no religion there. And in the end of the Kali Yuga, Krishna has to take an avatar as Kalki and come and destroy everything, and then again start a new Satya Yuga. And this cycle goes on and on and on. Okay. Now, by explaining this, what we...
Sharma Prabhu has some question.
Yes.
One question, Mataji. So
Yes.
the Brahma's life is like 100 years, right? 100 years of in terms of Brahma's day. So at the end of Brahma's life, even the Brahmaloka also will be devastated. That's what is the complete devastation. Yes. Okay.
Yes, that is complete devastation. After 100 years of Brahma's life, there will be complete devastation, and everything will now reside in Mahavishnu instead of Garbhodakai Vishnu.
Okay.
So everything will go in Mahavishnu now. And again, new Brahma will be there in another millennium. So that Brahma ends and everything goes in Mahavishnu, and a new Brahma will be posted for the new millennium. So it's like that. It's complete devastation after life of Brahma.
Okay. And one, sorry to ask this question, but see, we have this, we are just talking about only this Divya Yuga. Do we have, I mean, maybe Bhagavatam, Prabhuji might explain, but do we have any references to the other Divya Yugas which have passed before us, and then about the incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna?
See, okay. So first we have to understand what we are talking. One Divya Yuga is what? 4 cycles, right? These 4 yugas.
Yes, yes.
So if you remember in Bhagavatam class, I told in 8th canto, what is there?
8th canto is, yes, correct.
Description of all the Manus. Right?
Manus, correct.
So there are 14 Manus. So all the description of Manus are there. All the 14 Manus who will be Indra in that particular Manu, right? Indra keeps changing. So who will be Indra? What is the name of that particular Manu? And who are the Shaptarishis in that? What are the primary activities, of Krishna incarnations, and all that is there, right? So that description is there in Bhagavatam, in detailed description.
Okay, Prabhuji, then it's irrelevant now.
And there is one important thing to note, that in a day of Brahma, right? How many Divya Yugas are there?
1,000.
In a day of Brahma,
1,000 Divya.
only in one Divya Yuga will Krishna comes in his original supreme personality of form.
Full potency. That's what you explained.
The original, right?
Yes.
Now, please note one thing, that the yuga where we are living, the slide you are seeing, Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. This is just for this Divyuga. Otherwise, in rest of the 999, it is Satyug, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga and Kali. Dwapar comes second, then comes Treta, and then comes Kali Yuga. Only in this particular Yuga, it is Treta comes before Dwapar.
Because Krishna
himself.
Okay. And this is 7th Manvantar. We are living in 7th Manvantar, and this is the 28th Yuga cycle of that. Right? So when this interchange happens of Dwapar and Treta, then only that is the time when Krishna comes in his supreme form, right? And that is the only time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will come in that Kali Yuga. Otherwise, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never comes. Okay.
And
so
Prabhuji, I believe that is also has all scriptural references, right? That's what you are also saying. Somewhere
yes,
it is.
Yeah. Otherwise, how we will know?
No. I'm
This
just asking for out of my curiosity. Sorry.
Yes.
In Bhagavatam, also in 3rd canto, 5th canto, we'll have knowledge about this. Something is mentioned about these yugas and everything. And it's also mentioned that this is the 51st year of Brahma's life, which is going on at present. And the names of different Brahmas, and also if you go and Google, you can find it. Like, everything is mentioned.
And all these demigods, and including Brahma, they are devotees. But sometimes, if there is no qualified devotee to take the position of Indra or Brahma, then Krishna himself has to take that position. Right? So that also happens.
Okay. And
okay.
So Prabhupada has also mentioned that though we have come to know that Brahma also has an end, because in this material world, in all the 14 planetary system, there is birth, old age, death, and disease. And but he also says that because Brahma is a devotee, he is directly involved in service of the Lord. He at once achieved liberation. But still he has to undergo the process of death and rebirth again.
And there is one thing where I need a clarification. Actually, we will discuss it later, but I want to bring it to your notice because tomorrow we are going to go through that. The thing is, in Bhagavatam, and that is why I just picked up this book, it is said that at the end of the previous Kalpa, right, the day of Brahma, Kalpa is the
Brahma. Brahma's day.
This Narad Muni is speaking this. At the end of the previous Kalpa, when the Lord breathed in at the time of universal devastation, I entered his body along with Brahma. So this is like full
partial devastation.
Partial or full?
Before day is partial only, no?
So in this partial, then he's saying, I entered his body along with Brahma.
So this is for the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu.
Yeah, they are entering the body of
Garbhodakshaya.
But Brahma also enters.
Brahma also enters, no? Because he sleeps now. And in
Brahma,
complete devastation,
Brahma and Narada Muni enters into Garbhodakshaya Vishnu in the previous Kalpa. That's what you are saying, Prabhuji.
Yeah, that is actually, she just said that in the partial devastation, Brahmalok does not.
It is written like Brahmalok
is alive.
Not.
But Brahma goes.
But
the Lok remains. Okay.
So Brahma is residing in the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and again the lotus stem will form, and then Brahmaji will be there, and again he will start creation like that.
Okay.
So like that happens, and in complete devastation they will go in Mahavishnu,
right.
All of them. So like that, and but we know that Brahmajis are just appearing and disappearing like with every breath of Mahavishnu. Okay. So in view of eternity, it's so insignificant. The life of Brahma is also so insignificant. Mahavishnu with his one breath is producing so many universes and so many Brahmas, and then they are disappearing with his exhalation. So this is the thing we have to understand from this verse actually. Okay. So next comes these two verses. Will somebody like to read these two verses?
Hare Krishna.
Hare
At the
Krishna.
beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being. And with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated.
Okay. So in these two verses, Krishna is talking about this repeated manifestation and unmanifestation of this material world. So we already know that when Brahma days begin, all living entities, they are given some body and then they will do their activities according to that body. And so they come in a manifest state. And previously they were lying in the body of Vishnu as unmanifested. And when the night comes, they are again unmanifested. And this goes on and on. When Brahma days arrives, they will come into being. At night, they will be helplessly annihilated. And this is talking about partial devastation, which keeps occurring on and on. Okay. So we'll talk about something about this manifest and unmanifest state. We have, I think so, learned in second chapter that there is law of conservation of energy. What does it mean? That the total material substance, it will always be there. Okay. Like earth, water, fire, ether. It will always be there. It's an unmanifest state. Now, we will manifest something from that, like various bodies. Forms will come into picture. Okay. Like I gave the example that there is soil, there is brick, and there is everything. The raw material is available. But until and unless somebody makes a building out of it, it's called, like, it's just a substance. It has not been given a form. So the unmanifest state, we can say it's lying as a total material substance. And that total material substance is eternal. It will always be there. Okay. In unmanifest state. And from that unmanifest state, many forms are being formed repeatedly again and again. What happens when we are given some form? We are in this material world. Now, we are not attracted to the unmanifest substance. We are attracted to the forms, the beautiful forms. A man is attracted to woman, woman is attracted to man. And when Prabhupada says that the stool of a girl you love, will you like to look at it? No, because now this is the same energy of that girl, but still you don't want to look at it because we are attracted to form. And due to that attraction to form only, we are in misery. We get attached to that form and we suffer. And then again, we take a body according to our mind. Our mind carries away whatever desires are stored, and we are given a new body or a new form to perform our activities. And this goes on and on helplessly. It is written here. What helplessly? We are like in a helpless situation. Nothing is in our control. At the end of Brahma's day, we have to reside in the unmanifest state in the body of Vishnu. So here, basically, the point is that nothing is in our control. And we know, we have seen many examples like this corona. Okay. Corona is a small virus. When it enters our body, we don't have control. Within 1 hour, 1 day, we can die. So a small bug can take control over us. And we are walking on a road and one car comes and just hit us and we may die on the spot. So the point is that nothing is in our control. We will be helplessly annihilated at the time of partial devastation and at the time of complete devastation. So the message is, then why don't we all seek towards eternity? And we know that Krishna and Krishna's abode is eternal. It is full of pleasure and bliss. So in the next verse, Krishna speaks about that spiritual world because he wants to contrast. He wants to say that you want to stay in this material world and suffer, or you want to come to me. He gives an advertisement for his abode in the next verses. So somebody will like to read about this eternal spiritual world.
And
1620. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Should I also read the next one, Mataji?
Yes, yes.
That which the Vedantis describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode.
Okay, thank you, Harshit. So, Krishna is saying that beyond this manifest and unmanifest states of the material world, there's something beyond, which is transcendental, which is eternal, okay, which is not under the rules of this material nature. It is beyond the rules of material laws of material nature, and that unmanifest nature of is his eternal abode, and that part always remains. It is never annihilated at this as like is the material world, and that supreme abode is infallible, means it is indestructible. It is the supreme destination. And again, Krishna highlights that ones who attain that supreme destination, supreme abode of Krishna, he will never return to this world. So now we will discuss something about the supreme abode of Krishna. What are his qualities? Why? Because knowing these qualities, we'll come to know that we are foolish in trying to live in this material world. We have to go out and seek for this eternal abode of Krishna. And about this abode, Bhagavad Gita only gives a brief description. But in Brahma Samhita, Brahmaji, he describes in detail the characteristics of Krishna and characteristic of the abode of Krishna. So we have taken a verse from...
And there is one more thing in this verse. The last line, if you see, Tad Dhama Paramam Mama, right? So here, as contrast to the theory of impersonalist, here it is clearly Krishna is saying Tad Dhama Paramam Mama, that there is an abode, and that abode is Paramam, that abode is transcendental. And whose abode is that? That is Maya, right? So there should not be any confusion in that.
And we already know that Krishna and his abode are non-different. Like his names and Krishna are not different. Similarly, attaining Krishna, attaining his abode is one and the same thing. Because in 4.9, Krishna says, Janma karma che me divyam imuveti tatvata tvakta deham punajanma neti mamiti. So Arjuna, there also Krishna says, one who knows my form, qualities, pastime, abode, that person will never return to this material world again. So in Brahma Samhita, this verse comes. Chandru Prabhu, will you like to recite this verse?
Is not
okay, Raj. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, let me try, Mataji. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabirya Yeva Nijarupataya Kalabhi Goloka Yeva Nivasati Akhilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship.
Thank you. So similarly, he says, Ishvara Parma Krishna for Krishna, he says in Brahma Samhita. So I worship Govinda, who is the primeval Lord. He's residing in his own realm, and that is Goloka, with Radharani, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidence, embodiments of the extension of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. So this is a verse from Brahma Samhita 5.37. And it is described about this Goloka Vrindavan, that this Goloka Vrindavan is a Chintamani Dham. It is an Anand Chinmayaras. There is always full of like Anand and bliss and eternity. And why it is called Chintamani Dham? Because here everything, like palaces and all, they are made up of touchstones. We can find desired trees, desire fulfilling trees there, which are called Kalpa Vriksha, which can fulfill any of our desires. Then there are Surbi cows, which can give an unlimited supply of milk. And Krishna resides there in his two-handed form, that beautiful form. Okay. So this is described about this Goloka Vrindavan, eternal abode of Krishna. Why Krishna wants to highlight this? Because he wants to attract us. He wants to attract us to go back to go ahead. And then in the next verse, Krishna says that everybody cannot go to this abode. Some qualification is required. And that qualification he will tell us in the next verse. Krishna says, Krishna's abode is attained only by Ananya Bhakti. So somebody will recite this verse and read translation.
Yeah, I'll do it. Purusha sa para partha bhaktya labhya sva ananyaya yasyantha sthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him.
Thank you, Harshita. Okay. So Krishna and his abode are attainable only by unalloyed devotion. Okay, which is unmotivated. Okay, unconditional bhakti. That only can make us go back to God. And in the last line of this verse, Krishna says that although Krishna is present there, but he's all pervading. And we have learned about this all pervading feature of Krishna in 7th chapter. How is he all pervading? He's all pervading through his energies, through his material energies, spiritual energies. We say, like, as Shirodakshai Vishnu expansion, he's present in each and every atom, in each and every living entity. So that feature tells us that Krishna is all pervading in form of his energy. And we have also learned that how in Mahavishnu everything lies as a total material substance, and all living entities are there in Mahavishnu. And from Mahavishnu, when this whole universe is coming to being. So as Shirodakshai Vishnu, he is present everywhere, and we all are present in Mahavishnu. So this is one of the quality of Krishna, which is explained in this verse. So till now, any questions? Okay, so we'll move to the last section of this chapter, that is supremacy of pure bhakti in attaining Krishna. This is from verse number 23 to 28. So now something different is talked about in this, because this chapter was talking about death, like remembering Krishna at death, at the point of death and all these things. So in the end, Krishna now tells there are different parts. Okay, different parts, 2 parts he will explain. Why you want to explain? Because he wanted to know, like in Vedic history, some paths have been mentioned, and we know in Vedic history that some like old people, they used to go to some holy places when they were like about to leave their body. They used to decide that, okay, now we'll go and live in a dham, do some devotional activities, because they knew the importance that at the time of death, if they leave their body at a particular place or at a particular time, then they will achieve a supreme destination. So that factor was always there in the mind, and because it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and our scriptures, yes, the time and situation in which one leaves the body, it affects, it matters. Okay, so Krishna is saying, I shall now explain to you different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi will return or will not come back. But in the like 27th verse, Krishna says that devotees need not worry. Do not, these unalloyed devotees, they do not care whether they leave their body at a suitable time, at a suitable place, or whatever they may be the material circumstances, because Krishna takes care of them. So they need not worry about these paths, time, situation, place, anything. But yes, different paths, the other paths, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Hatha Yoga, these yogis must leave the body at a particular time, place, and circumstance to achieve the destination they want to go. Okay. So regarding this, we will try to explain you with certain examples. Okay. Now we are describing, like before going to this different times of passing and different situation of passing, We'll explain that in Vedic culture, we know that in our scriptures, there are various paths mentioned. Okay, different paths are there. Okay, but we should know that these different paths all paths may be correct, but they may not be appropriate for us. Okay, because there will be a very various views associated with that path. What we are looking for. Okay, depending on that, there will be a view associated. So these paths or this worldview can be compared to a map. We can understand with the help of a map. Suppose we want to locate a friend's house in one of the cities. Now somebody gives us a map. We are in Delhi, and somebody gives a map of Kolkata. So we will not be able to locate. We may try hard, but because it is not a correct map, we will not be able to locate the place. Okay, this is one example. The map should be correct. The other is it should be appropriate. What do we mean by appropriate? Suppose somebody gives us a map which is showing some physical characteristics about landforms, rivers, etc. Now, seeing that map, we will not be able to locate the place because it's describing some other features. We require a political map to locate a place. So in this way, this physical map is not wrong. It is correct. Political map is also correct. But at present situation, this physical map is not appropriate for us. Only that political map is appropriate, which will help us to find that territory. Similarly, with another example, we can understand this, that there is different way of looking at the body. Okay, like we have skeletal system, muscular system, nervous system, digestive system, respiratory system, circulatory system. Now there are different doctors for each of these systems. An orthopedician will try to look at this map of skeletal system. So he's looking at the body in the form of map, and that is skeletal system, how the bones are there and how they are lying and whatever. He will take an X-ray and find it out. But for a neurologist, he will not like to look at the skeletal system map. He will like to look at the map of nervous system because his focus is on the nervous system. So depending on the focus, this nervous system map is correct for him. Okay, is appropriate for him. It's not that the other maps are not correct. They are also defining the same body, so they are also correct. But for a neurologist, his focus is on nervous system, so he looks at the map of nervous system because that is the most appropriate for him. So by these two examples, what we want to show that in Vedic scriptures also different paths are given. Okay, like this yoga path is also mentioned there, Satchakra yoga, which we discuss in this chapter. But we should know that whether this path is appropriate for us or not in Kali Yuga. If we want to do spiritual advancement in Kali Yuga, this map of Satchakra yoga may not be appropriate for us, because for Kali Yuga, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. This mantra is the most appropriate for us in Kali Yuga. And the Satchakra yoga is explained in terms of some energy fields. Okay, we know that a human body, it has some fields around it. Okay, we have learned like a person radiates some aura. When we come in contact with some like pure devotees, sadhus and all, we feel differently. Why? Because body of that devotee is like radiating some spiritual vibrations. So vibrations are always present, and we have studied like this presence of vibrations in our physics also. Like I'm speaking, it's producing some sound vibration. I'm moving my hand, it will also produce some vibration. When we put a stone in the pond, there are vibrations set in. And similarly, we have studied about electromagnetic waves. They are also vibrations, and through that vibrations only we are able to talk to one another. The whole telecommunication like industry is based on these electromagnetic waves. Similarly, it is mentioned that our body is also surrounded by various energy fields. And what a yogi does, yogi, he wants to channelize these energy fields. What he does, he wants to like realize these subtler energies and wants to go to a higher dimensions. That's why he wants to lift the life air from lower chakras to higher chakras. And he, through his siddhis, through his yogic power, he is able to do and control the time place and situation when he will leave his body. He can wait until and unless he's confirmed that he will leave the body through his higher old only. So these yogis have so much of siddhis that give them that power to control the time of leaving the body. So this is explained to justify that why yogi has to leave at a particular time and place. And this diagram we have shown to tell you that we also feel a different aura when we go to a temple. There are certain spiritual vibrations in a temple, and that makes us feel calm, peaceful. There is chanting going on there. There are deities there. So much of spiritual vibrations are there that makes us feel good. So this is the thing. And now in 24 to 26, there is explanation of these two paths. Okay, these are mostly for yogis. Devotees have nothing to do with this. So somebody will like to read these two paths?
Yeah, I will read it, Mataji. 2 ways of leaving the body. Path of light at an auspicious moment in light and fire by the influence of sun god or fire god. During the day in Sukla Paksha, fortnight of waxing moon in Uttarayana, 6 months when sun travels to north. And candidates for jnanis and yogis, and destination is Brahma Jyoti, liberation, path of no return. Path of darkness. In darkness, during smoke in Krishna Paksha, fortnight of waning moon in Dakshinayana, 6 months when sun travels to south. And candidates for karmis and for destination heaven, rebirth, path of return.
Thank you, Krishna. So it is told that a yogi, if he leaves the body at a particular time, situation, the path of light, then his destination will be Brahma Jyoti. And a Siddh yogi, who is very advanced yogi, who has been like some certain degree of purification is required to being advanced yogi also. An advanced yogi can decide, but the yogis who are not so advanced, if sometimes they accidentally leave their body doing this path of light, then they will achieve the same destination. So whether with arrangement or accidentally, if somebody leaves the body in path of light, his destination will be there. But if suppose somebody is not able to leave the body during that time and he leaves his body during the path of darkness, then he has to again come back to this material world. Okay. So path of light has been explained like when there is presence of light means sun god. So it is under control of sun god. There are different deities who are responsible for this light. Fire, we know fire god is responsible. So what these devatas do, they will make sure that the path of soul is towards Brahma Jyoti when somebody is leaving the body in presence of light and fire during the daytime. And similarly, the effect of moon is also highlighted here because that is also important. In Shukla Paksh means when the moon is increasing in size. Okay, so that time if somebody leaves the moon, or when the sun is traveling towards north, we say Uttara, and they say like after Sankranti in January, the sun turns its direction. Okay, it starts traveling to north. So, and we know from Mahabharata that Bhishma Pitama, he waited for this to leave his body during Uttara because that was under his control to leave the body when he wants. But we know that this is not for us. We don't have any control when we will leave the body. Okay, so this is for yogis. Similarly, in the path of darkness is also explained in the last slide, like opposite to that. If there is presence of darkness, like in the night time, in Krishna Paksh, fortnight of waxing moon, in Dakshinayana, then there will be rebirth. And a brief classification has done that for Jnanis and yogis, they are able to live through the path of light, and karmis who are fruitative workers, they will, or some speculators, they will leave their body in path of darkness, and they will have to again come to this planet Earth after enjoying so many years in heavenly planets like moon or something. They will enjoy there, and then finally, but they have to come back. Okay. Now in this verse, Krishna says, like Arjuna might think, oh, I have to worry about this then. when will I leave the body? So Krishna assures him. He says, although devotees also know about these two paths, but oh Arjuna, they are never bewildered by this. They are not like at all confused, because they are always fixed in devotion. They are doing Ananya Bhakti. And Krishna assures that if somebody is doing devotional activities, then even though whatever material circumstances we may leave the body, Krishna makes sure that we remember him at the time of death. Krishna takes care of his devotee at that time. He says that you need not worry, because you have spent your whole life in doing bhakti, and he gives us result depending on that. Okay, so he says that if you do whatever you can, that we can do bhakti, we can do devotional practices, then I will do what you cannot do. That we cannot decide our like time of death. So Krishna will take care of us during that period of time.
And he said that in Ananyas Chintayantu Mam Ye Jana Paripasate Tesham Nitya Bhuttanam Yoga Shemam, that I will protect what you have and I will supply what you lack. Right?
Okay. So we may not worry. Like sometimes you would think, oh, if I lose my death in I die in an accident, or suddenly I die when no devotees around me, then what will happen? So Krishna says, don't worry, if you have done bhakti throughout a life, you will come back to me. There is no doubt about it. Ashanchaya. Bhakti says, if you remember me at the time of death, and you are not able to remember, then also I will remind you and take you back. So that's the thing. Okay. So in this verse also, Krishna is establishing the supremacy of bhakti. And in the last verse also, Krishna finally establishes the supreme position of a bhakti yogi. So somebody will like to read this verse?
I'll read, Prabhu. Mataji.
Okay.
Vedeshu Yagneshu Tapashu Chaiva. By studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, and okay, sorry, I think I need to read that. Sorry. Vedeshu Yagneshu Tapashu Chaiva Daneshu Yat Punya Phalam Pradistham Atyeti Tat Sarvam Idam Viditva Yogi Param Sthanam Upaiti Chadyam. By studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, and giving charity, whatever pious results may be obtained, one can surpass all of them by knowing me and my glories. And performing devotional service, such a devotee attains the supreme eternal abode. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
Thank you, Dipesh.
Thank you.
So again, Krishna here says that one may perform charity, one may study Vedas, do yagya, tap, everything. Okay, so whatever pious results may be obtained by doing all these activities, by one stroke of bhakti, you can get the result of all of these. You need not perform these separately. Okay, along with bhakti, where we are devotees, we definitely do some austerities, we perform some sacrifices, we do charity also. But exclusively, we need not do only this and don't do bhakti. Because by doing bhakti, everything is included in that. It's a one package. Okay, like for example, if we have $100 million, $10 million, $1 million is already included in that. Similarly, bhakti is like $100 million. Everything else is already included in bhakti. So by knowing this, one can suppress all of them, because we have come to know about Krishna and his glories from these two chapters. So the message is that when we perform devotional service, we can attain the supreme eternal abode. Okay, so we know where there are various ashrams, and for like brahmacharya ashram, we have to study Vedas, and in grihastha ashram, we have to give charity, and vanprastha and sannyas ashram, we have to do some austerities and all. But finally, if we are like we take to this devotional services, we will get the results of all these activities and we will be promoted to the spiritual world. So this ends the session. Any questions?
Mataji, one question. You said that Bhishma Pitamaha has chosen his time of death so that he can attain liberation and whatever, right? But we know that at the same time he is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. In that case, is it really needed to choose the time of death for him?
For Bhishma Pitama, he had the choice, right? It was, he could have left any time, if he had no choice. And moreover, for Bhishma Pitama, the choice of time, Krishna was in front of him.
Yes.
And it is said that he was looking at Krishna, right? He was glorifying Krishna when he was leaving. So it was not, so that point is not like a prerequisite for Bhishma Pitama. Not only that he was a pure devotee, he was glorifying Krishna when he was leaving. Krishna was himself present, when he left the body. So yeah, that is, I think so. Yeah, that example we do not need to give for Bhishma Pitama, because he was primarily like not a yogi, Ashtanga yogi. He was a bhakt.
But sometimes like they had the knowledge from the culture that, okay, if I leave that particular time, it will be my death. So they had that knowledge in their mind. Keeping that in mind, they may act in that way, but really they may not require that.
Yeah.
Like that. Any other question?
And also, just to get a clarification. So even in Bhakti Yoga also, we need to do ostracist sacrifices. Right? It's not a complete replacement. You have to do.
See, Prabhupada would say that in Kali Yuga, if you follow 4 regulative principles, that in itself is austerity. So it is not that, like, but see, that is the difference between proper devotional service versus emotions, sentimental. There are people who have total disregard of scripture, and they will think themselves to be the topmost bhakt. They have total disregard, disrespect of scriptures. In a sense, they will put them down. Don't get involved too much in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and but when it comes to their emotional, devotional sort of ritualistic ceremonies, they will consider themselves to be on top of the world, right? So we have to understand, reading Bhagavad Gita, reading Bhagavatam, chanting, your daily sadhana, right? Then this in itself is, it involves everything. Like we circumambulate Girraji, it is 21 kilometers barefoot. For people from outside, it may seem to be austerity, right? And it is like, it is not that it is not austerity, but you really enjoy doing that, right? Now, to start with, chanting, it's like, yes, it's a painful, it's getting up morning. If you ask me now, can you sleep at 12 past midnight and get up at 8? That will be torturous for me. And to sleep at 8 and get up at 3 is my, it's like daily routine. I enjoy it. Like it's part of my life, right? So how people look at it is different. Like watching a movie, your head can blow off, right? So many scenes, this, that. Why? For us, reading Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is what gives up. Like, Madhvi Radhika, she tells me that when you started with Bhagavad Gita, you would take one session 3 times, 4 times. And now Bhagavatam, you are ready to take 4 times one session. I said, I enjoy it. Bhagavad Gita, I sit with her, I sit with Nikita Mataji, I take classes, and I say I enjoy it, right? I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Reading, studying, and sharing. And I can speak a number of times. So to start with, or to people who don't have any taste for these things, it may look, these people, what are they doing and all this. But a devotee really understands that taste, because they are relishing it, right? What we are read in Bhagavatam, Nigamma kalptaro galitam phalam. Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the desire tree. Sukha mukha amrit dravya samyutam. That this nectar has come from where? From the nectarian mouth of Sukdev Goswami. Pibat Bhagavatam rasam alayam. That you drink this juice, which is good for everyone, even for liberated people. Muhur ayo rasika bhuvi bhavuka. And this is enjoyed by whom? By perfected beings who are intelligent, who are on this earth, but they're really bhavuka. They understand the transcendental mellows. They're intelligent people. So, that is the difference. For fools, they will say, why you are wasting your time? Why? You know why? Today in other group, we were going through the second chapter. And what is Krishna's first instruction, Harshad Prabhu? What is Krishna's first instruction in Bhagavad Gita?
We are not this body, but we are the soul.
Right. Now, you understand. We are not this body, we are soul. For other people, they think we are this body. What is chanting going to give you? Why you have to wake up at 3 a.m.? Right? Why you have to read so much of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam? Why you are wasting your time with Shri God, with Sumit? Get away from him. Otherwise, he will spoil your life. So what is he going to spoil? He's going to spoil your material life. Your things related to your body, disease. Your disease, But a spiritualist who knows that you are not this body, your soul. Krishna's first instruction, right? That person will say, you should always be in presence of devotees of Krishna. You should always seek association of devotees of Krishna, because they are the one who are going to really help you. So that is the difference. That is, different people look at same thing differently.
So while doing austerities or charity, our focus is not gaining something. Our focus is love for Krishna. And in this chapter also, it's not like we have to just focus on remembering Krishna and preparation for death and last moment. No, the focus is to develop love of Krishna throughout life. That is our main focus. We should not focus, I should remember Krishna at the time of death to achieve that destination. No, that is not our focus.
And one more thing, just because we have time, and this keeps coming to me. And so if you remember, we read the dharma of a living being, right? So liquidity is dharma of water. Saltishness is dharma of salt, right? And what is dharma of living beings? Two things. No. Now all of you have to go back to your old, to second chapter, third service. I didn't ask you to say, right? I wanted them to say. So you tell me, what is that? What is our constitutional position? We discussed.
Literal servant of the Lord Krishna.
Yes, it is our constitutional position that we are all Jivere Sarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. And what is attached to that? Right? How do we reciprocate? By two things.
We are part and parcel of Krishna.
Yes, we are. And yes, that is right, Harshad Prabhu. That we are part and parcel of Krishna. And how do we reciprocate that? How do we reflect? Consciousness is a symptom of life, of a soul. Therefore, how do we manifest that we are Jivere Sarup Nitya Krishna? How do we reciprocate that?
By devotional services.
Yes, by love and service. So please try to understand that saltishness is a dharma of salt, liquidity is a dharma of water. And for every human being, love and service is our dharma. Love and service, two things. Now please try to understand. If love and service is there, and people in general, like not devotees, people in general, how do they reciprocate? See, they also have this thing. They will reflect love and service. So they will love their family members, right? And sometimes if people don't have family members, whom are they going to love? Animals. They'll keep cats, they keep dogs. Or sometimes even people have family members, they will keep these. Why? Because cats and dogs, they will not react and retaliate. Their family members and friends can, right? So they are so sensitive, they'll keep animals. You know, why do people keep animals? Because they don't have anyone to reciprocate their love other than these animals. Why? You talk to them, you are thinking that, oh, they love animals, you know, they are animal lovers. They are animal lovers, my dear friends. 90% of those animal lovers are going to eat chicken in their dinner. 90% of those animal lovers. Oh, my dog, and they will, you know, my family member, they say they will show pictures of dogs also. And the same people, they are going to eat mutton, chicken, and everything on earth, right? So the materialists show their love and service how? From material body. Like, you know, they will show it to your family members, to their friends, and to, you know, maybe some animals, right? But that love and service has a start point and an end point. Please note. Why? Because we are material and that body and that person will material. But if that love and service is shown for Krishna, then we as soul eternal and Krishna is eternal. And that this devotional service, this spiritual practices, this religious practices, they will be eternal. That is why if you see 2.40, Neha abrikamanasho asti pratyavayo na vidiyate swalpam api yasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. There is no destruction. It is eternal. So that is why, you know, we have to understand this love and service, this spiritual life, everything for a devotee, they look totally in a different perspective. Everything. While we are not that we are hard-hearted, you know, we don't show any love to, you know, our relatives or friends. No, that is not. But we are intelligent and mature. We know what is what. That is important. Any other question or comment? Okay, then we'll end this session. So 8th chapter, you want them to
No, you want to call somebody. You want to call somebody for revision, or you people only summarize it?
And now they are all mature. They are. It will be good for them to.
Sometimes from here, from certain different devotees, we are able to arrange. It looks like
7th chapter did we ask? So let us complete 9th chapter also, or I will see. Okay.
We'll see depending on that.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare